Hey there, everyone. Hope you are well. Let's talk about Palantir. Let's talk about Big Bear. Tomorrow people are calling and saying that, hey, it might be Black Monday, that the market might fall apart even more. Now, what to do? Obviously, we've heard that the White House has been super busy this weekend. Go figure. A bunch of diplomatic people are flying in this week trying to hash out more deals with this tariff situation, all that. It's going to be a busy week in the market. I think, it's like we're already here. We're already in the bloodshed. If it happens tomorrow and it goes like, okay, we're going to plummet more, bring it. I think that's where a lot of people are. It's like, okay, we might as well just, if we're in it, let's just keep buying and let's just keep going here, because somewhere there's going to be a bottom and there's going to be a rebuild. The good things that we know so far is that May is coming. And what does May mean? Well, May is bringing earnings season, where we're going to see all of our big tech stocks, banks, all that, everything start reporting their Q1. So it should get the markets a little more hyped and up and running. Now, where will we be in 3 weeks? 30 days, less than 30 days from now. I don't know that's a big, where are we going to be? So, obviously, and I don't say this like, I don't want the market to continue to crash. I think everyone's over it at this point. We're ready to start rolling again here soon, but, until these tariffs get worked out more, I think it's just going to be a messy situation here. So Monday might, it might bring some more bloodshed here, but like I said, while we're in it, listen, there's going to be things that undoubtedly will be cheap, but undoubtedly they will bring you rewards if you're willing to hold them later into the future here. You will make your money back and a lot more. So talking about Big Bear, here's the situation. If you've heard me talk, I don't want to sound like a broken record, man, but if you've heard me talk, Big Bear is something that I am thinking could have a better year here. The problem is, if you don't have money to put into Big Bear, walk away. Don't even mess with it, okay? If this is something that you're like, if you don't do well with patience with stocks, and you're like, I don't have a lot of money to put in something, I want to put my money in something that's guaranteed, Big Bear is not for you. I will go ahead and tell you that right now, because it is still a very delicate situation. And I don't say that to be mean or rude to anybody, because, I'm counting on Big Bear to have a better year here. But there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad with a Big Bear, okay? Now, obviously, the main thing of what we're kind of hoping here, two big things with Big Bear here, is that it keeps getting deals, and that it ends the year here at around 180 to 190, maybe more. Maybe it'll hit 2 million the whole year with earnings. Possibly, if we keep solidifying these deals, getting deals here, yes, we could definitely see, the biggest year they've ever had. Now, with that, Big Bear is well under $3 at this point, and tomorrow it could go even more. Everything could tumble more tomorrow. It's really, like I said, we're gonna wait and watch and see what happens here. But the thing with Big Bear falling apart too right now is that, I think like many other stocks in the market's wanting to run. Like, investors are ready. They're over pretty much what's happening here. They've bought. They're ready to go here. I think a lot of people have probably ran out of capital. I mean, it's like, it's like less than 10% of the market is just like ordinary people, okay? It's a lot of it's by firms, big brokerages, stuff like that are holding. So when we walk in here and we buy 2, 3, 4,000 shares, 500 to 1,000 shares, it's not that big of a deal, let's be honest here. But it's a big deal just for, a regular person. If you're buying Big Bear right now at under $3, and let's say, hey, the market gets, back up on its feet here in the next, 10 days. Okay. And it goes back, to 350. Okay, you've made a heck of a gain here. So there is the conversation and the argument here that Big Bear will survive with the rest of the market here. It's just how much damage can it take? And it's taking damage undoubtedly because the market is going down. So there's no prediction of where Big Bear is going to be price-wise tomorrow. It's going to really depend on what we see here. I mean, even Jim Cramer was like in tears today, and he was saying that tomorrow might be one of the worst days in the market that we've seen. It might, because of all this tariff stuff. It's It's just wild. But what I am seeing too with a lot of people that we all know, from Tom Lee's to Dan Ives to JP Morgan people, all that kind of stuff, big top analyst people, majority of people have been buying and have bought. A lot of people are thinking that the bottom will show up here soon. And then we had the Feds are like, you know what? Things are going okay. We don't want to do rate cuts right now. We don't want to do rate cuts. Trump wants rate cuts, but, Jerome Powell's going, no, we're not doing those yet. But that's been going on. That's nothing new there. So we're in this very peculiar position at time where none of us have dealt, our fathers and our grandfathers have never went through this in a stock market. I mean, this is very, it's unknown waters where you're at right now. So if you think you're alone in this right now, you're not. We're all going through this. But what's the one fundamental rule that we know right now about the stock market? It always comes back. The grass is always greener on the other side with these plummets in the market. Always, throughout time, since the stock market's been around. We know that. Now, time-wise, when that's going to happen, we don't know. We don't know. The market could just stop selling off here and it could kind of just sit. And I think a lot of us would take that at this moment. It would just kind of linger around where it's at right now. Now, obviously, trillions of dollars have been wiped out of the market. I mean, at this point, a year, 2 years of wealth has been ripped out of a lot of things at this point. Now, that's not to say that we can't get a lot of that back here within a short time frame, but the uncertainty in the market right now is not helping the situation whatsoever. So I say all that to say, Big Bear, stay on subject with Big Bear. The best thing, hopefully, that Big Bear will achieve here is another big deal. Now, this tweet that came out some time ago, essentially last week, started to resurface around Friday when all the tariff stuff really started to get wound up here. And this tweet was from Kevin, the new CEO of Big Bear, where he said essentially, hey, we think we could help with the global trade situation at an affordable price. We could do it. And so investors went, whoa, what is this about? Now, obviously, this is just whisper. The conspiracy theory part of me where I go like, okay, is Kevin like leaving us some breadcrumbs right now? Is he trying to say to investors like, listen, I've been talking to someone and I know we're about to work out a deal here that we're about to get here, and you should prepare yourself. I don't know that he's saying that, obviously, and he can't say anything like that because the FCC would throw him in prison. But there is, that's a wild thing to say, what he's saying essentially right now. But obviously, Kevin didn't come out right and say like Big Bear needs to do this. We would be the best at it. He wasn't saying anything like that, but it was kind of like hinting that he said that, he's in DC, so people were kind of reading between the lines there. We'll see here. Big Bear has earnings here in 25 days. Their Q1 here, May 1st. Situation happening here. This could be a really good quarterly for them because this quarterly undoubtedly will probably have all of these new deals from November until essentially all of this month, where it will have some massive compounding with all these deals. So this could be a really good quarterly. It could be a $50 million quarterly. And if it is, it undoubtedly will tell us, hey, we actually might achieve this, 180, 190, maybe more $million this year with revenue, possibly. So there is high hopes that could happen. Okay, that's the best news coming up that we can see as of right now. Now, obviously, like I've said, Kevin, military background, him and Trump, his people, we know they all know each other. Okay, it's no secret that Big Bear's been getting these government contracts. Okay, and that's the only reason people care about Big Bear right now. Let's not kid ourselves. We're only here talking about Big Bear because they've achieved these government contracts, 100%. Okay, and I don't say that to be mean. I just say let's just be honest here. That's the elephant in the room. So with that, Kevin here, having this background with military, Trump, all that, there's no reason that they could not continue to get deals from the White House, the government, defense, all that. And with Kevin already seeming like he's hovering around this whole tariff global trade situation. Who knows, within a short time frame here, we could see a deal be made. That's the fairy tale story that could happen here with Big Bear. Now, obviously, there's no telling what that money would be. I imagine it would be pretty amazing. It would be a huge contract. But with that, it'd probably be their biggest contract, to be honest. I mean, I imagine that would be a hellacious contract, set over a few years. And it could be the one that changes everything with Big Bear. We've seen that in companies before. We've seen companies be, just because a stock is sitting around, around like $2, $5, $8. I've seen plenty of companies, plenty of stocks be that low before. If you've been in the market any time, you've seen this, where a company that seemed like it was doing okay, not getting a lot of attention, and then out of nowhere, they got some massive deal, and the stock just went parabolical. I mean, just like freaking nuts. We've seen that with drone companies. We've seen that with, things to do with EV, rocket companies. We've seen this. So there's no reason that couldn't happen with Big Bear. Big Bear just needs to keep surviving here. We need to make it to this next quarterly, and hopefully there will be some kind of more news with some sort of deal happening here with them. That's one of the main things too. So, friends, listen, I think I'm right there with everyone with Big Bear. We're watching, we're waiting, we're seeing what's going to happen here. But I'm very curious to see what Q1 is going to bring here. That's going to be a telltale sign of what else is coming here this year with quarterlies. And we'll kind of pretty much set the tone going into the rest of the summer, knowing kind of where the next one will be after that. Palantir. Who is still buying Palantir? Palantir has finally broke to this low $70 range. Now we have 29 days until quarterly is released, Q1, and this could be the one producing $1 billion. Now, where will the market be in 29 days? That is the question of everyone talking on YouTube, TV, everyone that is in the market right now. Everyone's going, where's the market going to be in 29 days? Okay. If the market has recovered in 29 days, okay, and Palantir comes out with a massive quarterly here, you can bet your bottom dollar that Palantir is going to work its way back up into some heavy numbers. Now, the other side of that sword, essentially, is what's tomorrow going to bring? Is tomorrow going to bring more destruction in the market? Can we see Palantir bleed off into a low $60 range tomorrow? Possibly. And I think there's a strong sentiment here, lingering thing that if Palantir sells off to, $60, $50, you're going to see a lot of people really start to move in on Palantir because they know what's coming. That's the thing. We know what's coming with Palantir. Palantir and Big Bear, these are two different situations, okay? Big Bear, there's still uncertainty. They're still like, maybe. Palantir, there's like, okay, like this company is, if they hit another 40% more on top of what their last quarterly was, oh my God, that's going to drive up the hype again. That's going to drive up the essentially the inflation on the stock. It's going to just rise up, okay? FOMO, everything will be created in a matter of small amount of time. So Palantir, to me, is still very much in this realm of people are paying attention to it. 100% people are paying attention to what's going on with Palantir. So I know, like, just if you invest with people, you read the zeitgeist of what's going on right now, people are starting to buy again, okay? And they're looking at what's going to happen in the next 5 years with their portfolios. There are stocks right now that are been hellaciously beat down, and Palantir, you could argue, is that it's one of those stocks. The problem with Palantir is, like, the big argument that starts with Palantir, it's like, well, what is the right price range with Palantir? Because it hasn't been for a while. It's always been doubling, tripling, price wise compared to what the quarterlies have been, because the quarterlies they move such at a fast, high rate, to where, that's why the FOMO, the stock keeps going up so high to where people, like, couldn't catch it for a while. But now that we've seen the whole market sell off and Palantir's at these, more reasonable levels, still essentially very high. I mean, you're talking about a company that hasn't even reported $1 billion quarterly yet, is, almost $80. Just a month ago, people were paying $130 for Palantir, so we know they'll buy it at 80, 90, 100. That's not an argument. The question is this the right time to move on it? I would argue, if you're holding it for the next few years, 5 years, 10 years, how long will this keep going with Palantir? Will they keep achieving and being the leader in what they're doing? How much faith do you have with them to keep, holding, buying, and going into this relationship with them? I'm definitely not going to sell positions that I have right now with Palantir. There's no way. I think we are in a moment right now. We are in a moment right now where people are going to look back on that bot, and they're going to go, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad I did that. Friends, I wish all of you the best of luck this week. You are not alone. Everyone is in this boat together. And it's going to be, this is a situation that we're all going through. We're all learning. Years from now, people may ask you, where were you during the tariff situation in the market? How did you position yourself? Where were you? It's an interesting thing that we're all learning about right now. So I wish all of you the best of luck, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye, everyone.